UFC Canada is in the books. And it turned out to be a pretty exciting card all round. Like we talked about coming into this card, when there's fans there, a full arena of fans cheering, it's no comparison to the Apex shows. You know, no matter what the card looks like, the excitement and the buzz, the anticipation in the air, you know, just creates this different level of performance out of the fighters, I think. And once again, you saw that tonight. The main card was full of really good fights, you know. Both of the 5 rounders went the full distance, and you know, it was a pretty long night of fights in the end. The main card had 6 fights on it. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see Derek Lewis tonight. I had no idea what happened there. Weird pull out just 24 hours before the event. He would have made a real impact, I think, on the card as well in terms of excitement and just talking points coming out of this. So unfortunate we didn't get to see Derek Lewis to compete tonight because, like I said, he's always so fun to watch. Let's get into that main event. Brandon Moreno, what a bounce back performance. A lot of questions coming into this fight, you know, on both sides. Moreno had a lot of time off, you know, after his performance against Royval, which he just looked a little bit cold, you know, a bit off in that fight. Tonight, he answered all those questions because he looked revived. Someone who has been at the top level of this division for so long, bouncing back like this against a surging young contender in Albazi, super impressive. Super impressive for Moreno. And tonight he showed a really complete game, you know, having fun on the feet. The kicks were landing, the jab, as always, beautiful. You know, he throws that jab down from the hip. He was touching up Albazi with that jab all night. And you saw at the end, Albazi's face was an absolute mess. Moreno hurt him multiple times in that fight. And, you know, I thought he was on his way to a finish, if I'm being completely honest. On the other side, Amir Albazi, we had questions, you know, coming in for him as well. He had double surgeries, I believe, surgery on the heart and on the neck since his fight with Kai Kara-France. So, you know, that is pretty serious health condition, let alone to be a fighter or not. And to go through that, that's pretty wild. Coming into this fight, you know, he looked a little bit flat. Moreno got off to a great start and he just looked puzzled the whole night. He showed his toughness though. He showed, you know, grit, determination to stay in there and to keep trying to win even if nothing really was going his way. Brandon Moreno, like I said, was lighting him up in the boxing ranges. And as the commentators were saying as well, this was one of Brandon Moreno's, I think, cleanest performances of recent memory. The guy looks rejuvenated. Someone who has been through so many wars, taken so much damage as well. To come out, you know, he hasn't been with Saif Saud for that long. That relationship looked like it's had a great impact on him as a fighter. You know, someone who's evolving, changing his game so late into his career, just shows you what a special athlete and fighter Brandon Moreno is. How funny is that little smug face he does? Whenever he lands any shots, he's got a hilarious style in there. And he looked, like I said, really good tonight. He answered all the questions and just proves to everyone that he's still at the top of this division. I'd love to see him in there with Pantoja again. I'd love to see him in there, even with the Japanese kid, Asakura. Imagine if he gets it done, you know, then we have all these fresh matchups at flyweight. So Brandon Moreno, he continues to improve. Tough loss for Albazi. This will only add to his growth as a martial artist, you know, so I'm sure he'll be back and continue to make a stamp in this division, just not his time yet. That co-main event, Erin Blanchfield, we talk about grit and determination. She was letting the fight get away from her in those 2 rounds. Rose Namajunas was looking on, and Blanchfield did a great job to turn the fight around, winning the last 3 rounds, implementing her wrestling game finally. She proved after that loss against Fio in her last fight, even though she was exposed a little bit in some aspects, she's continuing to grow as a fighter. She's improving those aspects that were lacking previously. And, you know, beating Rose Namajunas, someone who has, We talk about experience at the top level in championship fights. She's one of the greatest female fighters of all time. Yes, a little bit undersized in this division. I don't know about Rose Namajunas at 125 pounds, to be honest. She doesn't have that finishing threat like she did at strawweight. And yes, she was landing great combinations on Blanchfield, but I think those shots would have hurt some strawweights. Blanchfield is a big, strong girl, and she proved tonight her physicality, grappling skill, grit, determination, and just general dedication to stick to the game plan was enough to beat Rose Namajunas tonight. You could see how much it meant to her at the end of the fight, beating a former champion like that, Rose, in a really, really close fight. I think the judges made the right call. I think she won the last 3 rounds, and Rose Namajunas, she's in an interesting spot in her career. Like I said, I don't know if this is the best weight class for her. She's tried something new. As a female mixed martial artist, she has had a stellar career. So whatever Rose Namajunas chooses to do next, always going to watch. She looks still, really good tonight. She had a really competitive fight with the number 2 ranked girl in this division, Blanchfield, who is, head and shoulders above most in this division. So it's not like Rose is on this massive decline or anything. I just think, like I said, this may be the wrong division for her. Regardless, Blanchfield shows her heart, determination, and proves to everyone that that loss only made her better. And I think the growth she'll have after a performance like this against a former champion in Rose Namajunas, it's going to be exponential. So really excited to see Blanchfield. Whoever she fights next, she's going to get a really, really interesting matchup. Like I said, the rest of this card was pretty entertaining. The Machado-Ribeiro fight was really strange and almost a little bit frustrating to watch. I'm going to skip over that one. I don't know what you guys thought about that fight, but wasn't my cup of tea necessarily. Both guys, Ribeiro mainly, just not pushing the pace at all. He could have done so much more in that fight, and even though he gets the split decision, come on, guys. There were a few interesting calls on this card as well. The Canadians did really well tonight. Most of them. Jazz Davicius, she had a great submission, getting a Darce choke and looking really dominant in the fight as well. This one made the arena go silent. Andre Barrio gets slapped by Dustin Stoltzfus, who is interestingly putting together a good couple wins. A guy early in his UFC career, which looked like he didn't belong here at all, to be honest. And he gets a brutal KO with the right hook over Barrio tonight. They were trading like they were in a bar, and Dustin Stoltzfus connects first and sleeps Barrio, someone who's been knocked out now a few times in the UFC. Quite a questionable chin, but that shot was clean. He did not see it coming and get smoked. Like I said, the arena went silent, but it's a great win for Dustin Stoltzfus, someone who is, really putting it all together now and showing, actually, no, he does belong to be here in the UFC. Mike Maylott, Trevin Giles. What was Trevin Giles doing out there? We talk about being able to do more in the fight. He was seeing everything defensively pretty much. Wasn't marked up at all at the end of the fight. The jabs were beautiful. The straight punches were landing. Why wasn't he doing more? Just, it was like he was seeing everything in his head. He just couldn't pull the trigger physically. Is that from getting knocked out so many times? I wonder if that's one of the reasons he's a bit gun shy now. Because if he was pulling the trigger, I could see him doing really well in this fight against Malott. Yes, Malott was using the kicks, fighting a disciplined fight, keeping the range where he wanted it, but Trevin Giles was landing, and I think, if anything, it was Trevin Giles letting the fight get away from him, as opposed to Mike Maylott being head and shoulders better in terms of skill. So another frustrating one to watch. The Canadian Mike Maylott gets it done, gets back in the winners column. You could see how much that meant to him. He talked about just needing a win. So in a strange fight where Trevin Giles could have done more, Mike Maylott improves to 11-2-1 now, and like he said, back in the winner's circle, that'll give him a lot of confidence moving forward. Ayman Zahabi schooling Pedro Munoz for 3 rounds. Pedro Munoz, someone who has fought everyone in this division. It's absolutely crazy. Go down that guy's Tapology, go down his record, and just have a look at the names on there, because we talk about who's who at bantamweight. Pedro Munoz has fought them. If you want to get to the top of this division, you have to go through Pedro Munoz. Just looks like he's a little bit past it now. Ayman Zahabi, that next gen of MMA fighter, he's got a really interesting sort of style on the feet, but he just makes it work for him. He was fighting beautifully. Firas Zahabi's brother, someone who is one of the most intelligent minds in all of mixed martial arts. He's got a lot of good experience in his corner, and he's putting some really nice wins together now, and give him a ranked guy. Yes, Pedro Munoz is pretty washed now, but still tough as nails, and Zahabi showed tonight he was just levels above. Charles Jourdain with the signature guillotine choke. This guy is known for that now. He's becoming a bit of a guillotine master. He snatches that thing up quick. I talked about having some questions coming into his bantamweight debut, but he looked pretty good, Victor Henry is someone who pushes the pace, comes with a hard wrestling game. Even though he was taken down a couple times, he looked dangerous on the feet, and he kept the fight moving on the ground, threatening that neck. And for Victor Henry to get stuck in that choke once, interesting decision to keep putting your neck there. But when that's just so drilled into your nature to shoot like that on the hips, just puts the neck on a platter for Jourdain. And Jourdain said, yeah, I'll take that and add another guillotine to my highlight reel. So now Jourdain 1-0 at bantamweight. He'll be super happy with that. And it actually looks like it's a great division for him. He didn't look like he was gassing. He looks like he's, sized really well, quite a big bantamweight, and super interested to see him moving forward in this crazy division. Yusuf Zalal. Guys, watch out for Yusuf Zalal. Someone who, started his UFC career pretty well, had a few off decisions, lost to Topuria, and then left the UFC. Now he's back, and he has just found a finishing instinct that he never had before. I think he's got like 2 or 3 submissions in a row now in the UFC since coming back. And against Jack Shaw, someone who I rate really highly, that knee he landed was beautiful. Came straight up the middle, lead knee. Jack Shaw was severely hurt, and the instinct to follow him down and hunt that submission for the club and sub was absolutely beautiful by Yusuf Zalal. So keep your eye on Yusuf Zalal. He is coming in this division, and I'd love to see him fast-tracked. Give him a top 15 guy, because I think his skills are all there. Like I've said, it's just good to have a live crowd, to feel that excitement, regardless of the talent on the card. When it's in an arena, it always over-delivers. If you guys could like, comment, and subscribe, I would really, really appreciate that, and we will chat soon. Thank you.